Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Series 6 of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you with the help of Vivara UK. Vivara are a team of garden wildlife experts, and their mission is to make nature accessible to everyone. They provide ideas and solutions to create more wildlife habitats, from large green spaces to small urban areas. Join them at vivara.co.uk today. So our guest on the podcast today is Emily Johnson, known as the Arthritis Foodie, helping people with arthritis to live well with lifestyle choices and medicines, including recipes and pain remedies. Emily is also the author of Beat Arthritis Naturally, and we want to know all about it, don't we?
Absolutely. Welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Oh, thanks for having me both. It's lovely to be here.
No, it's great. You look good as well. You're in a lovely stripy outfit and you're on your lunch break as well. So we really, really appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. So you're on Instagram mainly as the Arthritis Foodie. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I am.
So tell us about your journey with arthritis. But first of all, kind of point out to us exactly what arthritis is, because there could be people out there that don't realise kind of what it is and how it can impede your day-to-day activities. So tell us just about your journey, please.
Absolutely, of course. So arthritis is something that when you hear that word, people automatically think about potentially an older parent, older grandparent, older relative. But actually, there's a whole spectrum of different types of arthritis, actually over 100 different types of arthritis. And actually, a lot of those are autoimmune diseases. So you've got things like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, reactive arthritis. There's a whole range of different types of arthritis, and it can affect anyone at any age. And the one that people sort of jump to is osteoarthritis, which does often happen in elderly relatives and friends. However, that is actually also prevalent in young people too. But there's rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. Yeah, there's these autoimmune disease-based arthritis conditions.
That's many. I literally never knew.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just really surprised me. Carry on.
Yeah. No, so when I first got diagnosed with arthritis, I did do that automatic, oh gosh, like isn't this is something that old people get? I don't understand how I've got arthritis. What's happening? But actually, it does happen in a lot of young people as well. And it's something I talk about in the book as your genetics hold the bullets, but then your environment pulls the trigger. So something in your environment could trigger your arthritis at some point in your life. And for me, I was really, really run down. Anyone that's heard this story before, I'm sorry, but this is my story. But yeah, I got food poisoning at my friend's barbecue. I was really, really run down already. My immune system was shot. I hadn't slept enough. I wasn't really eating very well. I was overworked. I'd been working nonstop as a tutor in Italy, and then at a hotel near home, and I just was constant. And I was socializing, and I was all the rest of it. And then I got a really bad case of food poisoning. And then that kind of lasted for way longer than it should. It lasted over 2 weeks. And then I started to get symptoms like my fingers swelling, and then my thumb swelling, being unable to sleep, needing a lot of sleep. I'd sleep like 16 hours a day. Wow. And this is in my sort of summer of second year of university. I was going into my third and final year at university. And of course, for all the students out there, and I'm sure if you've been a student yourself, you will know there's like the freshers week and there's the freshers flu. So when I was going to the doctors with these flu-like symptoms, which is often a signal of autoimmune diseases, I was sneezing a lot, I was producing lots of food. I was just so exhausted. My joints were hurting, all of those sorts of things. But they sort of were like, oh, no, it's probably just freshers flu. Give it a week, you'll be fine. And, it just went on like this. And I was like, no, but look at my hands. They're so swollen. And I can show you some photographs of those if you'd like. And yeah, it just went on and on like this. And I couldn't get any answers. And it took almost 2 years to get a diagnosis of arthritis. And initially they sort of said it was like a chronic fatigue syndrome initially. And then they said fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain syndrome. And then they said reactive arthritis, and it will just last for a year. And of course, it hasn't just lasted for a year. It has lasted a lot longer than that, for about 8 years now. And yeah, I sort of set up Arthritis Foodie in 2018 because I just got so sort of despondent and fed up with how my life was, and the pain levels were just so high, and my swelling was really, really bad, and I just had enough. I just wanted to look for other ways to take care of myself alongside the medication. I'm still on medication. I've managed to reduce it, but I'm still on it. And it just, it's been a real journey. And I didn't realize actually how many people out there do live with arthritis or inflammatory conditions like this. And it's quite surprising actually how many people do. Yeah,
that's quite a journey, isn't it? That's a lot. And for somebody very young, and like you were saying, you do tend to think of arthritis as being for the older generation. Like my mum has rheumatoid arthritis, and I don't know anyone young who's had it before. So to go through that, you must have felt kind of isolated, I guess.
I did. Yeah, I absolutely did. And I actually didn't tell anyone, even though now I'm like telling everybody. I didn't tell anyone. When I first got arthritis, I didn't tell anyone. And I was sort of so disengaged from my body and just not wanting to have anything to do with it. I was like, no, the arthritis is here. It's separate from me. I don't want to associate with it. I just want to live my life. I don't want to have to deal with this, because having to go to hospital appointments and tests and blood tests and x-rays and ultrasounds and, dragged from specialist to specialist. And, because for some time I didn't get that proper diagnosis, because obviously reactive arthritis, it then turned into, okay, they now say I've got seronegative arthritis is my official sort of diagnosis, but it presents itself as being in between rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis. And I'm on 2 different chemotherapy drugs for it that I hope I can eventually reduce even further, because the thought of being on those my whole life really terrifies me. But it was quite an isolating time, and that's another reason for the Instagram account. I just wanted to try and find other people like me living with this from day to day, and sort of hope that it was actually a food diary initially. It was just a food diary of things that I thought might help my arthritis, and then it ended up turning into more of a lifestyle thing. And I actually kept it anonymous as well for a while, but then I was like, no, if I'm going to talk about this, I've really got to actually talk about it.
We've found that people really want to know your story. They want to know who you are and what it's all really about. Important. And, you mentioned just before then that you had been able to reduce your medication somewhat. So at what point, on your journey, did you realize that, a change in your diet, so obviously more plants, that's what we're definitely
yes, more plants, yeah.
And your lifestyle, like at what point did you realize that was the way you were going to go, and, how it could help you?
So I don't know if anybody else out there listening to this has researched like arthritis and diets on Google. There's so much information, and there's so much conflicting different types of information, and it gets really confusing. And so that's also what I've tried to do with the book, is to scrape it back and look at what actually has worked and does work and is proven to work. But oh my gosh, there's so many different things out there. So I was like, gosh, where do I start? And actually, some of the inspiration that I got was from Deliciously Ella, and also Dr. Rupi from Doctor's Kitchen, Dr. Jenna Machoki, Dr. Gemma Newman, and Plant Power Doctor. We're all we're all people who I could see had managed to do things to their diet and lifestyle in a way that's changed their life for the better. And I just thought there's got to be something in that, and potentially maybe I could do that too with my food and diet and lifestyle. it was initially quite difficult because I was cutting out so many different things. So, because there's a thing about tomatoes, they say to cut out tomatoes, they say to cut out nightshade vegetables, which was, I mean, I don't now, but some people say they react to that with an autoimmune disease. Obviously, I cut out dairy. That's a massive one that I still cut out. Cutting out meats, certain types of meat like cured meats, and so I literally everything that you could possibly Google or find out about arthritis and diets, I tried, and I gave it a go. But I would say it was only about 6 months to a year into doing this that I actually started to really feel the benefits. And it's one of those things where you can't just, I've said this before, but you can't just have like a shot of turmeric juice and then still carry on eating all the inflammatory foods that you want, because that one shot's not going to do much. It's a whole holistic look, and it's not just food, it's your sleep, it's exercise, it's your mental well-being, it's all of those things that impact how you live with chronic pain and chronic inflammatory conditions like arthritis.
So it's like a whole lifestyle change and living really healthily, at the end of the day, isn't it? Just really looking after yourself physically and mentally. And we know that plants can help us do that.
They can.
Did you grow any of your own?
So actually, yes, during lockdown, I've moved house.
Yay! Sorry, I didn't hear then.
I know.
House unite.
I've moved house since then, sadly, but I did grow. And in fact, no, actually, I've still got a basil plant now. But I grew lots of herbs during lockdown. And also we had like rosemary plant, sage plant, and it's so much better. It's so lovely. I honestly dream of the day that I can have a garden with a vegetable patch. That is an absolute life goal, and like have my own apple trees. And I would absolutely adore that.
Oh, you can make that happen for sure. Like so many people throughout like the last couple of years have just really thoroughly enjoyed growing their own food. And when you do grow your own food, it does mean that you do eat more healthily, because you want to eat what you've grown, and it tastes so much better as well. So I think growing your own food does go towards a more healthy lifestyle in many, many ways, not just because you're eating it, but also all the other benefits of gardening as well.
Absolutely.
Something I'm really interested to ask you is I'm a big believer, and I can thoroughly recommend like grounding, so being in contact with nature, and I love to walk out my shoes on
Me
the
too.
grass, and I love to hug a tree. I'm kind of I think people now genuinely spot me hugging trees, and they're no longer, oh, who's that weird girl? Now they're like, oh, it's Ellen. How to get you to hug a tree?
Yeah, I hope people won't have that attitude these days.
No, I think that's changing for sure.
Definitely.
But we know that obviously coming into contact with the planet can help to reduce inflammation. And arthritis is inflammatory, isn't it? So how does that link? Like, do you ground yourself? Do you find that helps at all?
Yes, I do. It's actually something I spoke about quite recently on my Instagram as well. I don't know if you've seen that, but I absolutely love doing that and getting my shoes off and putting my feet in the grass and just lying in it as much as possible. I went to a yoga class, I think it was last week or the week before, and I literally just stayed there for like 2 hours.
That's amazing.
Just in the park, just enjoying it. Yeah, no, it's so important. And not being on my phone. So when I go for a walk in the park, I'll like just not have my phone on and not listen to music, and I'll just walk without anything to actually be where I am, if that makes sense. Because there's so many times when I've gone for walks and I've been on my phone, or I've listened to music, or I've been texting friends, or I've been on the phone to a friend, and you're not actually very present in where you are. And so then you don't get the mindfulness that you plan to get from that experience. I try really hard to be a bit more boundaried with myself sometimes and go, no, okay, for this hour in the park, I'm not going on my phone, and I'm really going to actually be in the park, or walk by the river, look at the ducks. And I went to the park the other day, and these like 6 little ducklings, and I just like watched them for like half an hour. I'm just gonna stay here and just watch baby ducklings. And the sun was shining, and I was like, this is the stuff that fills you up. This is the good stuff.
It is like it is our intrinsic link to well-being, is just turning off from the digital world and being outside in nature. And I know that there's been some research also, more and more as well, that shows that when you come into contact with the earth, it can actually help to reduce inflammation in your body. So I am always standing. Usually when I go to my allotment, I've got one little patch of grass, and before I even start, I just take my shoes off and stand there. I can be there for an easy 20 minutes. Easy, just standing there doing nothing else and just like relaxing. And I think when you have some kind of chronic illness and you are in pain, it obviously physically that's painful, but mentally that's really hard to deal with. So, having that time out to be present, be mindful,
so
be
if you
relaxed.
can calm your mind, it's going to help your body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really important.
Wow. So obviously when you started Instagram, that was almost your own personal food diary, wasn't it?
At first, yeah.
That you were having an influence on other people and people were starting to follow you. Where was that kind of turning point?
I guess maybe like 3 to 6 months into doing the Instagram, I was getting a lot of messages and people reaching out to me like, where have you found this information? And then after about a year, it was like, where's your book? Do you have a book about this?
Wow.
And I was like, I've got nowhere to send people. And obviously I have a full-time job, so I don't have time to write full articles, but I'll be present on Instagram. And I thought, actually, with all the different things that I've been researching and doing, it's all over the place. There isn't some, singular place that I can send people to. And then I thought, well, there should be, and there isn't. So why don't I write it? So a couple of years ago, I started a book campaign, and just sort of got the idea sort of started writing it about 2 years ago. And then I pulled in like 13 different healthcare professionals as well into the book to back up what I've been saying. And there's like thousands of research papers as well. It's been signed off by a rheumatologist as well. So it's really like the Bible. It's the book that I wish I'd had when I was 20 and I was feeling so lost and unsure what to do. It is the book that I just want to give people and hope it helps them. But it's strange because I never set out to with the Instagram. It was just more of like, I'm going to see if this helps. And then as I was helping people, I was like, oh my gosh, this fills me with so much purpose and I feel like it. If that's what I'm here to do, that's what I'm here to do. So, I'm more than happy to be the face of arthritis.
How that's changed, because in the beginning you didn't want to tell anyone, and now you're like the face of arthritis. And the book is called Beat Arthritis Naturally as well, and we'll come back at the end as to where people can find that and find you online as well. Although we have said Arthritis Foodie a lot, so I think people will soon work that one out. But in part 2, we are going to talk a little bit more about the actual foods that you would recommend in a diet, a plant-based diet, of course, my favorite topic, by the way, and what foods and lifestyle factors you recommend and the ones you definitely don't recommend as well. So I think it's really interesting actually I've read quite a lot about how people with different chronic illnesses, obviously arthritis being one that you unfortunately suffer from, and just how much plants have helped, just embracing nature as a whole. So obviously changing your diet and lifestyle, but that it does include going out, grounding yourself, going for walks, turning your phone off, turning your phone off, and just being mindful and how much that can really help your body. So be really interesting to come back in part 2 and talk about plants in your diet, definitely. So thank you very much. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
And I'm Gerdip.
And we are Rooty Fuel. Here at Rooty Fuel, we're passionate about introducing plant-based and vegan cookery into your life through a supportive online cookery school. We teach you the tips and tricks from a classically trained chef, giving you kitchen confidence and making vegan food enjoyable for the whole family.
We do indeed. Today, we are going to talk about lunches, and we've got a chickpea avocado and sesame salad, as well as a beautiful roasted pepper pesto pasta dish. Jenny, could you tell us a little bit more about these lunches?
Absolutely. So the first one that we've got, the chickpea, sesame and avocado salad, is ready in less than 10 minutes. Excellent. You need 1 tin of chickpeas, drained, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, 4 spring onions, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of ginger, 1 2 tablespoons, of sesame seeds and 1 ripe avocado, and then just mixed lettuce of your choice. You drain the chickpeas and you pat them dry. You put the oil into a pan, add the spring onions, the sesame seeds for a couple of minutes, and then you add your fresh ginger, your soy sauce, and your chickpeas in, stirring until all the chickpeas are coated. We'll cook those for 3 to 5 minutes until all the sauce is soaked in and evaporated from the pan, and then you just allow that to cool. Whilst it's cooling, you grab your lettuce of your choice, and you peel and you de-stone your avocado and chuck it into chunks, and you stick that into a bowl. Then you just simply add the chickpea mix over the top and enjoy. And this one is absolutely delicious. We've had this one before, haven't we?
We have. It's beautiful.
And then the second dish could either be a lunch or a dinner. This one is a roasted pepper and pesto pasta. So pesto is something that goes down really, really well in my house. And it's dead easy as well. Once you make pesto, you probably won't buy another jar again. So we need 50 grams of pine nuts, a large bunch of fresh basil, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 150 ml of olive oil, 2 garlic cloves, juice of half a lemon, and seasoning to taste of salt and pepper. Pesto is the simplest thing ever. So you just chop the garlic cloves, you stick all of the ingredients into a blender, and you blend it until smooth. And that's as simple as it is. It will keep for a week or so in the fridge, so you can add it to many other dishes. Once you've made the pesto, you chop the peppers and the onion into small pieces. You place them on a baking tray, just drizzle over the oil, and you place in the oven for about 15 minutes. Those will roast really nicely and bring the sweetness out. Whilst those are cooking, you cook the pasta. We choose a wholemeal pasta, and we put 100 grams of the pine nuts into the oven for about 5 minutes until they're lightly browned. Once all of those things are ready and the pasta is drained, you put them all together and you just have the most delicious, filling, gorgeous dish, which you can either eat warm for dinner or you can leave it to cool. You can batch cook, leave it to cool, and have it for lunch the next day.
They're absolutely great dishes, and you're absolutely right. If you are a busy person, make it for dinner and, keep a portion for lunch the next day. So fantastic. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing them with us. Please join us for some delicious family-friendly dinners next time.
And we'd love to connect with you on social. So have a look on Facebook and on Instagram for Rooty Fuel.
Thank you.
So we're back here with Emily, the Arthritis Foodie, and we're going to start to look at how we can get some real recommendations of how we can help anybody out there at home who has any of those 100 different types of arthritis, and what steps they can take to actually change their diets and start that journey to feeling better. So what would you say is the first step to kind of recognizing that you perhaps do need to change up your diet or how you're living your life, perhaps? Emily?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, it was a case of working out what foods might be triggering for me. So I've got a lot of help in the book as well on how you can do this. But for me, I would start by cutting out everything you can that's classed as quite inflammatory, and then adding one of those things back in slowly and seeing which ones trigger you the most. But go fully anti-inflammatory diet. Lots of fruits and vegetables. It's basically a Mediterranean diet effectively. And start with that, and then if you want to try and work other things back in, just make a note and you really just got to be so mindful of your own body and aware of what's going on in your gut, how you're feeling, your pain levels, even your toilet habits, what's going on there. Like, it's all so connected. And especially when you live with an autoimmune disease, 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And if you live with an autoimmune disease and you've got an inflammatory one, if there's inflammation in your gut, that's obviously going to affect your immune system and how you live with that condition from day to day. So definitely start with all the anti-inflammatory foods as possible, and you can start bringing in a little bit of time to see which ones are triggering for you. For me, it's dairy and lactose is such a huge trigger for me. So even when I'm like, I want a treat, I still won't have dairy because it's just really not good for me. But that might be different for somebody else. So it's a very personal thing. So I don't want to tell people, eat this, don't eat this, eat this, don't eat this, because actually it's very, very personal to you. So because you have a different gut to me, you have a different lifestyle to me, you know, you may have different reactions to things. So it's one of the things where you do just have to do it by trial and error and see what works for you.
So keep a food diary.
Yep, keep a food diary. Exactly that. That's exactly what I did.
I guess it's worth it.
That's what I did.
You could just do it on the note on the notes in your phone, so your phone's always with you. You know, it doesn't have to be a physical notepad if that's too, you know, oh gosh, I'm out and about and I don't have it with me. You know, you could just do it in your phone. I have got a trigger tracker template though, if people did want it to download that from my website. That's on my website. But yeah, I don't want to tell people to, you know, do this and not do that, because actually you've just got to try it for yourself. But all the inflammatory foods that I talk about in the book, definitely cut those out first though. Start there and then work them back in and see which ones are most triggering for you. But it's not even just food, it's stress, it's lack of sleep, it's so many things, you know. And for me actually as well, stress is a huge trigger for my pain and arthritis. You know, having lost my job and had to leave house, and my granddad passed away all in the space of like 3 weeks at the start of this. I was just I was such a bad place. I was like at my worst. And that is stress related pain and stress related inflammation. So, you know, as much as food obviously plays a huge part, and plant-based living and plant-based eating is a big yes from me, you also have to think of all the other elements too.
Yeah, I get that, like the whole holistic approach. So do you have, I know obviously it's a personal journey for everybody, and you know, everyone's food diary will be slightly different, but are there a few top plant-based foods that you definitely recommend, even if there's just a couple, and any that are a definite no?
Okay, I can do that. So anyone who follows me might roll their eyes, but I talk about matcha and green tea all the time. I've even just mentioned it to these two in the break. It's absolutely amazing. So if you want to start there, swapping out your caffeinated drinks like coffee, breakfast tea, things like that, and try swapping it in for a green tea or a matcha green tea. Matcha, I say matcha because it's got 136 times more antioxidants than 1 cup of green tea.
That's so amazing.
It's way more powerful. Yeah, it's way more powerful. So, but if you did want to start light first, try just swapping your hot caffeinated beverages for a green tea. I would start there. That's one swap. That's one thing you can do. Secondly is meal prepping and having things ready to go in the freezer or in the fridge that, you know, if you are in pain or you are tired, I would start by doing that. So I have a lot of vegetable soups that I make from scratch. So at the start of the week, I'll shove like carrots, sweet potatoes in the oven and make a really delicious soup that's ready to go in the fridge. I've got things cut up in the freezer that I can just grab, so I don't have to cut them, you know, like bananas, peppers, things like that, and cut homemade curries. So another tip is when you're making this delicious homemade food, you know, without all the preservatives, without all the rubbish, this beautiful plant-based food with loads of spices and deliciousness, don't let that time go to waste. Make a load of it. And bulk cook it. Even if you don't want to eat it 4 days in a row, some of it you can freeze or give to a friend or partner or whatever. So that would be my second tip. Sorry, this is not exactly food, but I thought it's worth saying.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another thing is I would try and get as many plants as you can into your week. So Dr. Jenna mentions this in her book, but at least 30 plants a week you should be having, really, different types.
You mean different types of
So it could be like beans and pulses, your brown rice, as well as like sweet potatoes, as well as all your fruits, as well as all your spices. So actually it's quite achievable when you look at it like that.
If you're on a plant-based diet, it really is, because you use different like spices in your cooking, and like I have the allotment, so I'm constantly bringing different stuff home. And I think I easily make 30 different types of plants in a week. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I easily do that. And then like things like turmeric and paprika in cooking, and then you might add some garlic and some onion
exactly
and some mushroom stir fry, and all of a sudden that's like 5, and you haven't even finished making the food yet. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, exactly.
Really
that
achievable, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And also, you know, it's hard to just say one food, because it's actually all the different elements of these foods. I was saying the herbs, the spices, the fruits, the polyphenols, the vegetables, you know, everything, it all kind of plays a part. And then another thing would be try plant milks instead of dairy-based products. As we know, the dairy industry, you know, is quite heavily processed in terms of how cows are treated and how milk comes about. Whereas obviously plant-based milks are potentially better for you, better for the planet, and less triggering inflammation-wise, for me anyway. That's what I found. It might be different for other people. But if you can try plant-based milks, you can even make them at home as well. It's really easy, like almond milk. You can literally soak almonds in water and drain and then blend. So, you know, you can do that at home.
Tastes so good. It tastes so good. Homemade milk is so nice and so easy.
Yeah. Tastes amazing, doesn't it? Yeah. So that's
are there any that you're like, no, definitely not, don't do that? Like I get acid indigestion, and mine is don't really have tomatoes and don't have coffee and don't have
even
carbonated drinks.
Interesting about tomatoes. Because like my community, I did a poll on tomatoes, and like it was like 50-50 in terms of them triggering them, but I couldn't find any research on it. Maybe eventually there'll be research on tomatoes and nightshade plants, but it's so interesting that they trigger you, Ellen. But yeah, I think it's a case of just finding what works for you. But plant-based is the best place to start. And in terms of things that don't work and maybe trigger you and are quite inflammatory, of course I've mentioned dairy, but fried foods, deep fried foods and processed foods, like highly ultra processed foods, whereby you look at the back of the pack and it's got like 20 ingredients of things you don't recognize. You know, things like that, trying to eat as whole food as possible. And also certain types of alcohol, in terms of like the sugar content and the alcohol content, can be quite inflammatory, and also don't have, you know, because alcohol is sedentary. So it actually does it, not sedentary, sorry, that's the wrong word. What word am I looking for? It's gone. Basically, it doesn't give you a proper sleep. So, you know, when you have alcohol and it doesn't give you a proper sleep, then your inflammation is not, your body's not doing the right thing as it sleeps.
Not repairing, is it?
It's not repairing. Yeah. Sedative. We've got it.
You're there.
Sedative. Yeah. So instead of having alcohol, the other alternatives you could have instead. What else? Yeah, there's so many more things in my book that I talk about and that I've researched, but it is red meat is another one that sometimes triggers.
I think like basically what you're saying is whole food, plant-based diet as much as possible. Is the way to go. And I think at least incorporating more plants into your diet has got to help. Cannot be a bad thing. You know, I know we're talking about arthritis specifically here, but for so many different health conditions, actually, we know that's beneficial.
Definitely. I think that's such a great overview of the different foods and kind of what you should and shouldn't have. And you've given us a few recipes for soups as well. Thank you. But in terms of like lifestyle factors, so obviously we talked about diet, you've talked about stress, but it can be difficult to kind of take stress out of our lives anyway. So kind of, is there any kind of tips to get around those? I guess meditation, kind of this type of thing is going to help as well. Kind of what other lifestyle factors do you think people really need to tick, you know, the box of in order to help cover themselves of arthritis? Yeah.
So meditation and mindfulness, definitely that's a huge thing. But also you can combine that with exercise. So I know some people might roll their eyes, and I did initially when somebody suggested yoga to me, but actually even if you can't do all the moves, just get moving in some shape or form. You know, I've written a chapter on exercise, and I found it I found it ridiculous when I was writing it, because I was like, I was the last person to be chosen in PE lessons. Nobody wanted me on their team. I was terrible at sport. It's just not my thing.
You probably weren't. You were probably
I was like head of the team.
No, you would not have wanted me on your team. So for me, like, exercise is quite a solitary thing. Like I like to go walk. I used to go for runs. I like swimming. I like yoga. But that's personal to me. So it's finding the exercise that works for you. But just 20 minutes of exercise is anti-inflammatory. So like I said, if you can get moving, just do it. Get some shape or form of movement into your day, and that mindfulness whilst you're doing it. And yoga is, there's some studies about yoga in my book and how anti-inflammatory it is and how helpful it is for our mental well-being as well. So exercise and mindfulness, combining the two if you can, is great. I've already mentioned it, but sleep. Having really healthy sleep habits. There's a temptation in bed at night to go on our phones and not really have a restful kind of slow decline into our sleep. But if you can, lower the lights before bed, and you can create a calm environment, and also read a book, read a chapter of a book. And that's another mindfulness thing. It takes you away, switches you off before you go to sleep. I'm reading Midnight Library by Matt Haig at the moment. I absolutely love it. So I'm reading that at night before I go to sleep.
Oh, I read Ghosted. Have you? Sorry, this is completely off topic. It was really good.
Oh, is that by Dolly Allerton?
Oh, hang on a minute.
Was it Ghosts? No, hers is Ghosts, I think.
Okay, so this is called Ghosted, and it's basically someone who met someone else, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared, like completely ghosted her. So she then went on a journey to try and find out, why. And the twist at the end is just epic, and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, nice. I'll make a note of that.
It's really good. And there was another one called, was it called The Hunting Party? Something like that. Hunting Party, where people go to a lodge and something happens, and then it's all like finding out about it. Anyway, completely off topic.
Running a book club.
Yeah, sorry. But everything that you've been saying is just like, sometimes I wonder about my own lifestyle. I think, am I doing this right? Am I being healthy enough?
I guess you'll know in how you feel.
Yeah, but overall, like everything you've said, I try to incorporate. Like, obviously, I just had a massive slice of chocolate orange cake at the garden centre, which was delicious. But mostly plant-based diet. I turn my
balance. It's balance.
That's it. It's like balance. The only balance, I might just say, is to tip the balance is most definitely to have more plants in your diet, and that is
absolutely.
I think, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So you've got your book out. Can you tell us more about that, where we can get hold of it? Because I'm sure the listeners would love to kind of have a look at that resource if they are, looking to ease their own arthritis.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So you can find Beat Arthritis Naturally. It's here next to me. This is what it looks like. So you can find it on Amazon, Waterstones, Rebate Smiths, Blackwell's, Foyles, all the bookstores, local bookshops as well. If you go on Hive, you can donate to your local bookshop by buying it from there. So yeah, this is it. This is Beat Arthritis Naturally. Oh, sorry, you're taking it.
It says supercharge your health with 65 recipes and lifestyle tips from Arthritis Foodie. That sounds amazing.
Very
in fact,
cool.
I might get it because I think my mum would be very interested in that.
And it's not just recipes. So, there's one chapter full of recipes, but then the rest of it is, all about sleep, pain relief, mindfulness, exercise. And I've got so many different wonderful people that have contributed. 13 different healthcare experts have contributed to this book and given their time to help people. So I really do hope it does help people and help anyone listening to this.
If you're not a sufferer of arthritis, this is going to help you, the lifestyle changes that are in there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And for many other chronic illnesses, actually, because it's promoting a very healthy lifestyle. So I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on to the podcast today. We really appreciate it. And
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, both. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Jason from Cloud Garden, the UK. Now, you guys probably know that I have an 18th floor balcony garden, but I also have 150 plus houseplants in my front room and my bedroom. It's like a literal jungle in here. But one thing that I'm dealing with at the moment in my collection indoors is an increase in houseplant pests. I've got mealybugs and spider mites, and in my most recent video on my YouTube channel, Cloud Gardener UK, I share with you that I found another pest, thrips. And for anybody out there who's ever had an infestation of houseplant pests, you will know just how stressful it is trying to keep on top of them. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it's like you claim a victory on a plant, you think that you've done it and, your plants are pest-free. And then, before you know it, these things are back with a vengeance. It can be really, really draining, especially when you have a large collection, because essentially your plants are so close that it's really easy for these pests to just travel to the next plant. Currently, I'm using some homemade sprays to get rid of the pests, but it's just not quite working. So I think next week I'm going to be introducing some beneficial insects into my apartment to help me get rid of these beasts. Because, child, let me tell you, it is just so draining waking up every morning, spraying on top of the plant, underneath the leaves, spraying down the entire moss pole. I have not got time for that. And of course, I'm going to be documenting everything on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see how I get on with that, make sure that you're subscribed. Now, one of the benefits of living in an apartment is the floor-to-ceiling windows. And as it's beginning to get sunnier and sunnier, what I found is that my plants are responding. There's a lot more new growth around the place, but also they are beginning to take up a little bit more water. So this is just a reminder that you might want to start readjusting your watering schedule for your houseplants as we move into spring. Now, for the balcony or container gardeners out there, don't think for a second that you have to throw away your old compost from last year. No, you can reuse that. What I tend to do is put all the old compost into a big container. I'll add some worm castings, maybe some chicken manure, and then I'll add in a little bit of fresh compost, mix it all up, and then that will form the basis of my pots for the current year. This cuts down the costs and saves you from lugging up bags and bags and bags of compost up to your garden every year. And then, just like a ground level gardener, I collect all of the dried leaves and I will use that as a mulch for the containers on my garden. And that will help me to keep the moisture in all of my containers. It's a delicate balance, but I try to keep some level of sustainability on the garden and try to do my bit to help with the environment as well. Anyway, I will see you again next time. Thank you very much. Bye.
Series 6 of the Plant-Based Podcast was brought to you with the help of Vivara UK. Vivara are a team of garden wildlife experts, and their mission is to make nature accessible to absolutely everyone. They provide plenty of ideas and solutions which can help you to create more wildlife habitats, and that's in large green spaces or even small urban areas. Why not go and join them at vivara.co.uk? Oh, wow.
So tell us what you're eating at the moment.
Sushi.
Where are you?
Premier Inn, Tolworth.
A sushi in a Premier Inn with a lot of white vans parked outside.
5th floor and a corner room. This is like penthouse.
Nothing less for the plant geek.
And look at this. I've got my soy sauce in a glass, like the bathroom water glass. I'm really worried I'm going to pick it up and forget and think it's just like a glass of Coke or something.
I'd like you to do that while we're on this. It would be funny if you accidentally did.
What's going on, babe?
I don't know. What's going on? What's going on? It's spring, Michael. That's what's going on. Well, it is here in North Carolina anyway.
But you said it was going to get cold again, didn't you?
It did, yeah. Over the weekend, I had to wrap all my plants up. So there's a bit of a joke in Charlotte where they say, like, you get the first spring, then the second spring, then the real spring, and in between you get winter and late winter, and then a surprise winter. And it literally goes from 25 degrees down to -6 degrees in the matter of a day. It's just so bizarre. But I think we're past that, like -7 a few days ago. So everything got wrapped up again on the balcony. But now all the temperatures have shot back up again, and it's a lovely spring weather.
Oh my God. Well, this sushi's really good, I have to tell you.
I'm pleased for you.
Are you still vegan?
Oh, boom, boom.
I'm a bit low-level obsessed with alpines at the moment, Ellen Mary.
Okay, why? Why has this suddenly happened?
I'm so obsessed that I've managed to convince the producers of Stess Packed Lunch to do a whole feature on it.
I think, like, alpines are very, very cool plants. And a couple of years ago, I can remember, who was it? Christine Walkden, perhaps, planting one up on our Gardener's World, which I didn't watch, I might add, but I saw the photographs afterwards. And it seemed to kind of take off a little bit since then. You know, they're such amazing plants. So pretty. Like Louisia, for example, I absolutely love that.
Defo. Do you remember when we went to Wisley and we talked to Pete Goodchild?
Yes.
Those door stops with sempervivums in the bricks as well.
Yeah, very, very cool.
So we're going to do a few things like that. And I think it is great because it is like this miniature little garden. And I've been obsessed recently with the concept of making a rockery in a pot as well. Obviously,
yeah.
Not going to be able to move it around readily, but yeah, I think it's fun.
You know what? Let me tell you something. One of my very first jobbing gardener jobs was building a rockery for someone in Norfolk. Yeah, years ago. And they wanted this really long kind of rockery by their driveway. So when they drove in, on the left of it was a knee height, I suppose, but very long, like, rockery. And I built that. And I can remember her husband saying he couldn't understand what all the fuss was about. And we built it kind of late summer. And then come spring the next year, I saw him somewhere. I think we were maybe at a work meeting or something. And he actually said to me, I get it now, because it's all out flowering and it looks absolutely beautiful.
I think, no, sorry, darling. I was so hungry. I've eaten 4 sushi pieces. That is enough. I'll now do the call with you and eat the other 8 afterwards. Okay? Just
okay, thanks.
Just swallow, but fill in with a bit of chat, Ellen.
Okay, while you swallow your sushi. So I can remember planting things on the rockery like little like dianthus and saxifraga, sedums, Louisias, that kind of stuff. Pardon?
I think great. It's so unsung. It feels like so common.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's really, oh my God, just so much. And I remember when I was a kid, my grandma used to have it kind of tumbling over the wall, and it was always covered with birds. And that is probably where I had my first experiences of kind of inspecting nature and, you know, picking these ladybirds off and kind of then looking at the little spots and stuff. And it was a really nice memory.
They're lovely havens for wildlife, that's for sure. We had in our old cottage garden, we had a very little wildlife pond. And by the side of it was a mini rockery. And I can remember just all the beautiful, bright colour, like tiny little flowers that were so fascinating just because they're little but so bright and so interesting. And I remember I bought a Louisia at a garden show a couple of years ago. I can't remember what one it was now. And I've got that growing in a container in my very small back garden in Norwich. And it flowers every year and the colours are just so beautiful.
But also all of the sedum and stuff, which are basically outdoor succulents.
Yeah, so exactly.
Succulent look, but outdoors now, which is great because all of those people that are obsessed with houseplants that I really slagged off last week can now start to outdoor plants as well.
Plants, there's so many opportunities. Oh, and creeping rosemary, trailing rosemary, creeping thyme. You could add all of that into a rockery, which would look really pretty.
I didn't realise last week when I was talking about houseplants and people throwing them out and things like that, I had a message from Home with the Haydens.
Yeah.
And said, oh, you didn't have to go off on one. I didn't realise that it came across quite that way, but, you know, I'm proud of it.
Yeah, you were very edgy last week, definitely.
You know,
and also, on that note, we should just mention that you have posted a lovely reel on Instagram about some really cool houseplants that you could have. And I very kindly replied saying, oh, nice. And you told me that you thought my houseplants were boring.
Yeah, but Ellen, I don't really mean that, but I'm saying it just to help the algorithm for us.
Yeah.
Doesn't it true? You just got to say it. You know, like, we're all like desperately trying to please the algorithm, like you're some, like, you know, frosty aunt or something. Kind of like doing all these. And you know, when someone says, like, you'll put a picture up of, you know, like some gorgeous flower, and someone says, oh, that's beautiful. And then we reply, isn't it just? And it's like, it's only for the algorithm, isn't it?
There's lots of dancing around at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot of dancing around on Instagram at the moment. And actually, someone messaged me yesterday, I think it was, just saying that she's been on Instagram since 2018. And at the moment, this is the worst engagement she has ever had. And honestly, mine has died, like literally died. I'm getting like 60 likes on a post, which is insane.
Oh, it's so irritating because
I'm definitely not playing with the algorithm now because I've got a lot on this week and I can't bother. So I'm playing with the algorithm by not posting at all.
I'm annoyed that we even have to consider that we need to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I generally try and post at like 5 p.m. or something, but like sometimes you just spaff it out there when you've got it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also about because the algorithm obviously likes engagement and stuff, but also that's a whole lot of extra admin. And I don't want to be replying to people just with that gesture reply either. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want to be just replying to 20 people, ain't it just? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Like, and it's a lot of work at the end of the day, you know, to do it all. So I think you just have to do it with your own time in mind and however you want to do it. And of course, lots of people do want to play to the algorithm, and sure, that's fine too, you know, whatever.
I was talking to the other day, but talking about engagement, and I think Instagram for me is generally more of a showcase of the work that I do rather than a kind of platform that I use within it, if you know what I mean. I guess because I do a lot of other things, it's kind of then the showcase where stuff comes off of that, or people come from other stuff onto Instagram.
Yeah, it's like your visual CV, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I'm always telling you that. That's like my one piece of like career advice that I give everyone all the bloody time. I've got no other advice.
You have no other careers advice at all. However, your career is going very well, Michael. You're around and about on and in everything, which is awesome. But last night I did see that you done a weird and wacky plants talk at Gardening Club.
I did. Well, you need to keep doing village halls, Ella Mary, because it keeps you down to earth, you know.
Keep you down to earth.
I was Hannah. You know Hannah at Perrywood?
Yes.
She's great. I was thinking, I think she's in my top 10 favourite people.
Wow, that's so nice.
I had 11 or 12, but really, I do like her a lot.
So Hannah is known as the cactus surgeon online, I think. That's right, the cactus surgeon. And she's also released a cactus book recently as well, which is pretty cool. So that's nice to hear she's in your top 10. You know that everybody now wants to know who are in your top 10.
But she's, I'll tell you that in a minute. But I like her, and I think she likes me as well. So that makes me like her more.
You only like people that like you.
Of course, makes sense. I did this talk at her village hall in Birch, just outside Colchester. And it is kind of fun being with that kind of real everyday audience, because you really, you meet some QVC customers, you kind of like see what it's really like, and you have to keep doing that, I think. Do you know what I mean? Even if
really important because
I still had to do it.
Yeah, but oh my goodness, I think but you and I, our intention is to bring plants to people, and encourage people to love plants one way or another. And a lot of people that do attend garden clubs don't use social media and won't have seen anything that you do. They won't have seen your visual CV online, darling. And it's really important to engage with everyone, as many people as possible. I've got quite a few village hall ones this year. I'm really excited because no more Zoom. Pardon?
Can I come?
Yeah, sure. Of course you can. I've got Beckles, Reefham, Philby.
I might come in disguise.
I'm not entirely sure how you would disguise you, but yeah, sure.
I don't know what I'd do, but maybe I'd just wear a hat. You're in the background, like an extra from, what's it called? Succession.
I love Succession, by the way.
Ellen, tell me about Succession. But let me finish telling you about my weird and wacky night first.
No, I did ask you, so please do.
And there. So yeah, it was wonderful. Everyone laughed, and I really, how audiences are, and we often swap notes on this. And if you've got kind of stony faces, then it's kind of hard when they don't laugh at your jokes, or even worse, they laugh at the dark jokes, which is what you're doing. So that's weird in itself. But also, I did a little bit of groundwork beforehand, and I knew there'd be a laugh. Like the chair lady, she'd said, "Oh, I Googled you to get some information to introduce you." And I said, "Oh, I hope you didn't Google me too hard." Or she wouldn't have seen stuff that she wanted to put on there. But anyway, but also, I really it was just such a great audience. And when you feel you can just push the boundaries a little bit and be a little bit cheeky with the audience, and kind of that then gets a really nice camaraderie from the room, and also relaxes the room as well. So, but it's funny because you can't do that with every sort of audience. They're all different, aren't they, Melon? Yeah.
100%. The one thing I will ask you, did you say jizz or did you say spaff?
No, I didn't. I said crap and shit. Well, I said crap, and then I said, it's funny that crap just always sounds more polite than shit. So I said both.
Because I know those words always tumble out of your mouth at some point during a presentation.
We've got the X-rated, plants towards the end. And that's kind of the nice kind of people are obviously oh. And I like when I've got this time lapse of Phallus impudicus, and when it comes on, it's literally about 20 seconds of this very slow fungus growing, and I say nothing. And it makes it so awkward in the room, and I love it. The end of each section, and people could win a Plant Geek pin and, stuff like that. So anyway, sorry. Tell me more about you.
That sounds really good fun. I want to come to your next one.
And in a disguise.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll come disguised as someone very different. I'll have blonde hair and a beard.
Thomas Sunita, good.
I don't think I would, because Sunita tends to wear just a leaf across her parts. I think I'd rather be wrapped up.
You silly moo.
Pardon?
She doesn't dress like that in the winter, does she?
Oh, maybe she puts an extra leaf on. Anyway, Succession, which is not plant related whatsoever, that is my favourite show at the moment. Of the moment.
I love it when you're so scared to talk about things that are not to do with plants.
No, not at all. But it isn't, is it? I don't think I've even seen a plant in it.
No. It is cool, but I watched it all now.
Have you watched all 3 series?
Have you?
I've got 2 left of the 3rd series.
Oh, do you not want me to tell you what happens at the end then?
Not at the very end, no.
Sure.
Do you know, I have this really annoying ability when watching a film or TV or anything, that where I already know what's going to happen. It's so obvious in most TV shows what's going to happen. And so my husband is always like, how do you know that? How will you know that that's going to happen? But with Succession, I literally have no idea what's coming next.
Uh-huh. Well, my partner's always like, I'm always looking it up to see what happens at the end. And he prefers to have a surprise, but for me, I like to know, and then I can watch it with more, I can concentrate on it better, because I don't know, but I can't explain what I mean there.
I can understand that. You are definitely not the only person that does that. I've done that before. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm halfway through a book and the suspense is killing me and I can't concentrate on reading the rest of the book, I read the end and then go back and read the rest of the book.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because it sort of gives you context, you know?
Yeah. Because otherwise you probably just go back and read the whole book again, because then you want to read it in context, which is to me a waste of time. I haven't got time to read the same book over and over.
So that's why I'll watch a series and maybe my partner's away or something. Then when he gets back, we'll then watch it again. And he'll be like, oh, do you mind watching it again? I'm like, no, because then I'll concentrate the second time, you know? Twice just for it to go in.
Very good. Very good indeed. So, Michael, you said you only needed like a couple of sushis and then you'd be okay to record, but I see you're still working your way through them.
Well, you were chit-chatting, so.
That's fine. Wow, you have the Gardener's World magazine. Get you.
I'll tell you something. It's really meta, let me tell you. Is it meta? I'm never sure what meta is, but when I say it, it sounds cool.
Okay.
Right.
Be cool.
On QVC on Sunday, we had lots of gardening shows. And when they threw to me in the garden and I was answering like some quick Q&A. And when they came to me, I had Gardener's World in my hands like this. Was that not cool or not?
Okay. Great story, thank you.
I don't know.
Are you in the magazine? Are you in the magazine?
No, not at all. I just stole it from Organ Reception today.
Oh.
Do you like hardy annuals?
Do I like hardy annuals?
Let's chat about them.
Okay. Why? But yes, I do like hardy annuals. And also, I like all annuals, to be honest.
Yeah, all right. If you say you like hardy annuals, that doesn't mean you hate petunias. We're not going to cancel you just because you only like hardy annuals.
You know, like Calabrichoa and stuff. Like, I don't want to discount them too. You know, that would be really unfair.
This person who we shall not name, and I don't think they listen to the podcast, but they were really snobby about orange daffodils yesterday.
Oh.
Of them, and they said, "Well, you would."
What's wrong with orange daffodils?
You're snobby about stuff and different colours, and just let people grow what they want to grow.
I think that's kind of fun.
Hardy annuals, Ella Mary, something that
it's fun to have different colours. Okay.
Oh, something that I experimented with when I was doing Thompson Morgan trials, but I completely forgot about in the past few years, is sowing hardy annuals directly in haying baskets.
Yeah.
How is that? And at home with the Haydens is about to do it. I have to do some of these, and also some hardy annuals in pots. I was thinking about, obviously poppies, annual poppies.
Yeah.
Just like planting them under my bamboo. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. That sounds really nice. You do? Yeah. Yeah. Pardon?
Do I not have your undivided attention here?
You have my undivided... No, you have my undivided attention. I wasn't quite sure how to handle the situation. Like when you were saying about sewing them in like containers or hanging baskets. As in, I didn't want to sound like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that thing. So I wasn't quite sure what to say. Like,
what?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fairly normal.
To make something really awkward, Ellen.
I know.
It's so awkward. You're all wanting your knickers.
I think it's because I garden in small spaces. So when I garden in a small space, I have to do stuff like that because I don't always have the place to put them in the ground. You know what I mean? So that's why. Sorry, you keep cutting out. So I'm not. I think there's a delay also.
You keep cutting out. It's not me.
Okay, you. Either way, we're cutting out.
Is second to none. All right? With Tolworth roundabout. It is nice. So, Ella Mary.
Yes.
Annuals, when you sow them in the borders,
it
makes me so nervous because they're always germinating at the same time as the weeds, and it's like, oh, drop me out. This is just far too much work, you know?
And like, how do you distinguish which is which? Like, how do you know, like, when the little seedlings come out, how are you sure that it's a weed, not a weed, you know?
Funky ones, like zinnias and sunflowers are all right, but like, yeah, the pissy little ones like poppies are like, oh.
Is Love in a Mist, Nigella Love in a Mist? That is that hardy annual?
So, you know, dill-like, isn't it, when it comes up?
Right, yeah.
So there you go, really, Ellen. That's my chit-chat. Oh, I'm going to do something cool with my sweet peas this year.
Yeah.
Right? Tell you what it is.
Go on,
you are off your head when you know. Or maybe not. Do you remember that Chris Wiley is so successful, never pinched his? Do you remember?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. That's not linked to what I'm doing, but I just wanted to remind you.
Okay.
You know, I've got, like, near my front low wall, Verbena bonariensis and Calamagrostis, I think, coming through as well.
Yeah.
Last year there was some Acidanthera, but I don't trust any bulb to come back in the second year, so let's forget about it. There's also fennel there as well, bronze fennel.
Yeah, nice.
I got a spare tray of sweet peas, I think pink ones or something, from Chris's place when I was there pollinating hellebores, because I do practical work from time to time. And what I'm going to do with the sweet peas, right, Ellen, I'm going to plant them amongst the Verbena bonariensis and the fennel and the Calamagrostis, and I am just going to abandon them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they crawl their way through the plants. Maybe they'll come up the Verbena, up the grass. I'm just going to let them do whatever they want to do, whether they go along the ground, whether they make kind of, you know, awkward little bushes. They're just going to be there. How cool is that?
Nice. Just like letting plants do what they want to do rather than us controlling them. That's really lovely.
Well, I don't know if you've ever grown a sweet pea called Snoopy.
No.
It was brought around by Thompson Morgan in the 80s, and obviously, you know, cool name, huh? Snoopy. But it's kind of like a bushy one, so it doesn't create tendrils. And the idea is that it does grow as a kind of big sort of bush in the border, but you don't see these bushy ones very often. There's a series called Solway, which is more of a bushy one, a kind of mid-height sweet pea. But everyone's always trying to go the tall ones with straight stems. But actually, as a kind of handsome, kind of frothy border plant, they've got a good market as well, I think, with these like Snoopy and the Solways.
Yeah. Definitely if you're growing in pots and containers, because you can still grow sweet peas in a nice pot on a patio, you know. So maybe like the mid-sized ones would be good for that. I think the tall ones are all about like growing upwards, saving space, say if you've got an allotment or in your garden or whatever, because you can grow them up against a trellis, and probably to grow the straightest stems you possibly can so that you can put them on Instagram.
Yeah. But we say about saving space, but conversely, some people are looking to fill space. And
yeah.
Like sometimes, Ellen, I'm looking at my garden, which is so small and, you know, perfectly formed. But I'm always like sat there like moaning, oh, I run a bigger garden, blah, blah, blah. But I think the moment I got a bigger garden, it'll probably scare the living daylights out of me. You know what I mean? So it's not about space, but making that space feel intimate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a really good chat.
There's a definite knack to it, and it's a personal choice. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what your sweet peas do. I think my assumption is they'll trail along the ground rather than go up. But
yeah,
like,
but they themselves up every now and then because they'll still have tendrils, won't they?
Yeah. But you know, like the perennial pea.
Yeah. Oh no.
Pardon.
Nervosus is a perennial sweet pea that does grow like a bush. It's got lovely blue flowers.
Right.
The typical everlasting, the pink and the white one, yeah?
Yeah, the pink one. So I planted that on my allotment and completely forgot it was there until I was clearing out a load of old, like a flower bed. And it had grown really big and really long, but it had grown through the like undergrowth rather than up it. And there were some taller plants around it and it hadn't looped onto them.
Do you know, Ellen, there's something that really pisses me off about that plant.
What?
Well, when people sell it, they often get in a muddle and say that it's fragrant.
Right.
But it's not fragrant, is
There's
it?
no fragrance, no.
Oh, and every so often I see it on a label and I'm like, oh my God, just shut up. You're so dumb.
Yeah, just because it's a sweet pea does not mean it's fragrant. No, it isn't fragrant, no.
But there's a lot of unique species that can be grown easily in the UK. I don't know if you've seen this one, Belenensis.
No.
It's really cool. It's very delicate. It's much, much smaller because it's like a species type.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nervosus I said. But also Azurius is quite a nice one.
I'm taking it that's blue.
Yes. But our than Nervosus is a really good one because it is like a perennial and looks like a typical sweet pea with really lovely like denim blue flowers, but doesn't have so much fragrance. Anyway.
Oh, beautiful. There are so many sweet peas to choose from, and honestly I don't think I could go a year growing cut flowers without sweet peas. I do really love them. Mine last year grew brilliantly, so well. There was tons of them and I kept picking them.
I know. How many weeks?
But later on in the year they definitely got a disease. 10 weeks I was cutting those sweet peas for, but towards the end they did get a disease, so the colour was fading out of the flowers, like they were veiny. Yeah, so they did get disease in the end, but I had weeks and weeks and weeks out of them, and it was amazing. They just kept coming, and yeah, I had I can't remember, I had our Harry. Ironically, I got those seeds because I literally loved the fairy tale wedding between Prince Harry and Meghan. I've gone off all that now, but anyway, I had our Harry and Restormel as well. Had I think was it Silver Anniversary. I had some Spencer varieties because they are like the stems were meant to grow perfectly long and straight, and I've grown sweet peas for so long that I really want to show them one year, so it was a little bit of an experiment. And like the other ones like Restormel and our Harry, which were beautiful colours, the stems were really much thinner. So I think, experiment with sweet peas and find the ones that you like with the fragrance and the colours, but there's so many to choose from, like I just couldn't be without them.
Oh my God. But did you pinch or not?
Yeah, I pinch once. Like you can pinch more, but if you want bushy plants, then I think pinching is the best thing to do.
Surprised that Chris hadn't, and obviously he had them bushy because he needed them bushy to get maximum seed crop, didn't he? But
yeah, I'm not sure because like also they were really tall and obviously grew up really high. But yeah, he didn't pinch them, which is interesting. Although saying that, I saw a couple of years ago. Everyone doing the rounds, like on socials, pinching out chili plants and stuff. But then I spoke to an expert chili grower and he said he never pinches them out. So I sometimes wonder if we make gardening more complicated than it needs to be. Like we give ourselves extra jobs to do that we don't actually need to do.
Objective, and there's always different ways to do stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. So you don't have to do something because everyone else is doing it. I was just looking up to see what sweet peas I got for this year and I can't find them whatsoever. So usually I'm very geekish and have all of the things that I've got for the year in a spreadsheet, but it seems I may have actually missed off my sweet peas. Dun, dun, dun. I've got Royal Family Series, Royal Crimson, and I've got Jilly and Noel Sutton. I just looked back up at the screen and Michael's not actually there. So yeah, they're 3 sweet peas that I've never grown before.
Well, I never, Ella Mary.
Well, I never.
It's really too hard to grow stuff from seed for me when I'm away so much.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Hard to keep on top of, and kind of like, and you can't really take your seedlings with you at weekends, blah, blah, but there's one thing I do.
Yeah.
I just struck a deal today with Carl at Turn It Tropical.
Yeah.
Grow my seed of the dancing plant.
Yeah.
And we're going to then share. He'll give me 50% back and he can sell 50%.
Good deal. Cool. That's a nice deal, Michael Berry.
I do want to grow. Maybe I'll outsource it to him as well. Is Petunia excerta.
Okay.
It's like a star-shaped species petunia in bright red.
Wow.
It's really cool. It's just a little bit different, kind of got that tropical vibe. So that, but I also did buy some seed of dictamnus recently, but that would be easier. That's like an outside job because it's like perennial. So, and stylidium, but again, outdoor perennial. So
outdoor should be fine, especially with the British weather. There'll always be a bit of rain, and then it'll be dry, and then a bit of rain. So you probably won't have to worry so much. But indoors is tricky. Like I know we said last time, mentioned last time that I have sown a load of seeds here to leave for my husband to look after. They have grown insanely quick here, I might add. So it might be that all he has to do is plant them out when I've hardened them off, but we'll see.
That's amazing. I would love to, I don't know, to be growing in a more favourable climate would make such a difference sometimes, wouldn't it? I think we would be, well, you've already seen it there, but I think for me, I'd be like completely shocked and I'd be like, what the hell?
Oh, honestly, the first year I was here, that is how I was. Like when we were in our old apartment on the balcony during COVID, and we had a really small balcony, and I planted stuff out, and the daffodils and tulips came up super quick. They were there super early, and then they just died really quickly. I've noticed that. Things don't last as long.
Oh my God, I got to tell you, like my bulbs in the front garden, like bulbs generally are not good at second year, are they? How do you find it when you have ones on the allotment?
I think it really does depend. So I've had two full seasons out of a whole load of daffodils and tulips, but I cut them. And I do think when you cut them, that makes a massive difference. So for the third year, I dug them all up and replanted them all again. But then in a garden where I've just left them to naturalise and do their thing, then they come up year after year and they're absolutely
what,
fine.
you think it's better to leave them?
Yeah, definitely.
Because all mine have been left anyway.
Yeah, well, they should be fine. Did you cut them? Like, if you've cut lots of them, then they might.
But it just doesn't feel like there's as many there. What difference would cutting them make? Though?
Well, I think when you remove the flower, it removes like some of the nutrients, as long as you leave the foliage there, of course, for a longer time. But in my experience, I have definitely found that the plants that I've cut, even leaving the foliage, has impacted their growth over the next year or two. So some will grow again and some don't. I guess it depends on the variety as well. But I've definitely found that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a learning curve. And there was a lot of others that we did plant as well. So I guess they'll be a bit behind because they were a bit late, actually. So, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, but I'm going to Holland in a week or so. So I've timed that perfectly to go to Kirkenhof Gardens. But that means that I'll actually miss all the bulbs in my own garden. Aren't I stupid?
Oh, well, hopefully the bulbs in your own garden.
That's what I was going to ask you, Ellen. I want to set up like maybe a webcam so I can watch my bulbs when I'm away.
Do it. That's what I do.
But how
you should definitely do it.
How do you set it up outside though?
Well, you wouldn't. You would have to set it up inside, but just put it on your dining room table and push the table towards the window. Plug the camera in and put it on the table facing out into your garden. So when you just have it turned on and then you've got an app on your phone where you can watch it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I might do that. Yeah. Can you recommend a webcam to me?
Yeah. So I use Blink, and I have a couple in the UK and then one in the US. The one in the US is for the dog. It's on the dog crate for when we go out to make sure she's asleep. Honestly, it's really good. So you can arm it or disarm it. So armed means if there's any movement, it will notify you. So if you get a lot of movement in the garden, you might want to turn it off and only look at it like when you please. But
oh my God, I feel so behind on this sort of thing.
You can definitely do that. That would be really good.
Oh, cool. Oh, Ellen, it's been such an enjoyable chat, I have to say. This delay's very awkward, isn't it?
It is really awkward. I wonder what it will sound like to people listening. Like, I'm not catching you all of the time and you're not catching me, but that's what you get for eating sushi in a Premier Inn.
Exactly. For purposes of podcast length, we probably need to wrap this up very soon, Ellen Mary.
We do. And I'd just like to say also that I did really enjoy this episode about the Arthritis Foodie. Just talking about like the benefits of eating, healthy and lifestyle in order to allow her to, live a life where she's not constantly in pain with arthritis. I think that's really, really good. So I hope my listeners enjoyed it. Definitely.
Absolutely. And it's been a few months since we actually did the interview, so it'll be really nice to listen back as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I might just do that on the motorway.
You should absolutely do that on the motorway. You drive yourself carefully, Mr. Plant Geek.
I will. Thank you very much.
And I'll be seeing you. I'll see you next week in person for real. How cool.
In Technicolor. Oh my gosh.
Make sure you wash.
The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.